Welcome to the next episode of my Rans S-21 Outbound build. In this episode, I'm going to be doing the bottom skin, fuselage skin, as well as the side skins. For this process, I had some help come over. We flipped the fuselage over. It was on the bench. Flipped it over, set it up on a stand for the rear, and then just set it up on the ground with a 4x4 block for the front. And that way I could more easily work on the bottom skin. I've got my bottom skin placed properly. It's centered left to right. I've drew a mark on the underside of the skin 3/4 of an inch back from here. I've lined up those holes on those marks. So I'm set back the appropriate dimension. Like I say, it's centered. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and drill these holes for the tabs here. For that, I'm gonna clamp it first with some clamps, but then I'll come in here with my hole finder and get those along the front. And I believe there's a tab or two. There's one right here as well, and one right here, so. Got all those on the front edge of the skin done. Now I'm gonna work my way back to the aft end. There are a couple rows here. I've got some tabs here. I've got some tabs here. So now for that, I will have to get up under there and match drill from the inside of the cage outward. But at least now this is locked into place, so that'll hold it, and I'll just get in there and do some drilling and work my way back. As I was gonna go in there and start drilling, I realized I really need to put a backing on here, and of course, I'm by myself, so I can't reach around. So I just got a scrap of this 1-inch MDF, clamped it across here, and might put another clamp here and right there. It'll do two things. It'll keep the skin nice and tight. I kind of drew it down and clamped it down there, and it'll provide a backing for when I drill those holes. So that worked out great. I've got the board removed, I've clecoed, I've moved my board back to the next station that gets these tabs drilled. Got her clamped down. I'll get in there and drill that out. Bottom skin is drilled and clecoed. Got all the tabs. Worked out pretty good using that board. Working on the aft side skins at this point. The manual says once you get the belly skin drilled and clecoed to flip the fuselage over and do other things. But I thought it made sense to leave it upside down, work on these skins here, because I am gonna have to drill through here. I think it'd be easier to drill through here with this thing upside down and go through the belly skin into the side skin for the rivets that go there. So what I've done is I've got this in place. I've clamped it tight up against the tube at the front and rear so that everything is gonna be exactly where it needs to be. And I'll go in and I'll match drill from the inside out. There's 3 tabs in there, and that's why they haven't drilled these holes here. That's why there's gaps here. I'll match drill from the inside out these tabs. I'll cleco. Then I can come from out here and I can match drill from the outside in. something I want to point out. I've got this skin fit here and I match drilled through, and something I noticed here, the factory has pre-drilled holes, which I had showed earlier, and I was going to match drill in between those. Well, the match drilled holes are not in the same line as the pre-drilled holes. They're shifted back about 3/8 of an inch, 10 millimeters, maybe 12 millimeters. And at first I was concerned about that, so I reached out to the Facebook group and found that that seems to be typical. So don't be alarmed, I guess, when you see that. It's unfortunate a little. I feel like a good change here for Rans would be to just move this row of holes, this line, just kick it back about 10 millimeters, and we'd have a little bit better chance of it lining up with these holes, because it's purely an aesthetic thing at this point. Structurally, there's no issue with that. It's just looks, and in the grand scheme of things, when it's all said and done, it's probably something that no one's ever going to see. So just FYI, I did notice that, and if you ever are doing one and you get to this point, you'll probably notice the same. Now what I'm going to do is get these holes drilled in here. They're going to go through the bottom skin and through these side skins. So what I've done, I've determined that these are 1.5 inches wide from the edge to the outside of this radius. I've pushed this tight up against the tube, and I've come in and I've measured 1.5 inches in all the way down, and I struck a line. And this lets me know on the outside here now where this skin ends underneath, because I need to come in 3/10 of an inch. That's the edge clearance I need for the holes that are going to go here. And these holes are going to be on a 2-inch spacing all the way down. However, I do have some tubes in there that I need to be mindful of. So as an example here, you can see we've got where this tube connection is here, obviously where this tube is, that weldment with all of those connecting there, and so on. So I need to transfer where those exist on here, and then I can set my 2-inch spacing between. And I think the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come in from the inside. I'm going to get a long bit, and I'm going to pop a hole right here where I've cleared this weldment here. And then also I'll pop a hole right here somewhere. And then I can come up here. I'll know where those two holes are. I'll use my rivet spacer and spread it out to give me a 2-inch spacing between those, or as close as I can get to 2-inch. Mark those holes, drill, and do the same thing. Come up underneath here. After that weldment, pop through, and so on, and just work my rivet spacer for my, that worked great. I popped that hole in from underneath. I popped that hole in from underneath. I ran a ratchet strap around it just to keep the skin tightly pulled up against the lower longeron tube. And set my rivet spacer up. If I go every other hole, it ends up being almost exactly 2 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark these holes, and I'll just duplicate that same process for up here. And there we go, there's the holes. Perfect. And you can see I landed right on my 300 thousandths edge clearance all the way down. So good, I like it. Keep moving. I got everything marked out, and now I'm coming back in here and I'm drilling on my marked holes. So I'm just going to give a good little push on the skin, make sure it's against the longeron nice and tightly, and I'll just come in here and hit these holes. Hopefully, I've got the AC is kicked on now. It's 97 degrees out here today, so it's heating up. And my AC is kicked on, and it's pretty loud in here, but I'm wearing a microphone now, and hopefully we're not going to have too much background noise with the AC. I guess I won't know until I get into editing, but anyhow, here's the skin. I got the skin pulled off. You can see where I had marked it with a Sharpie, where the tubes were, so that I can place the stiffeners in here with some VHB tape. Now, one thing, I kind of wish I would have done this a little bit differently in the order. I primed this before I put it on, not realizing I need to attach those stiffeners with VHB tape. But this is 2-part epoxy primer. I etched the sheet, sanded it, etched it, degreased it, sprayed the 2-part epoxy primer. It is bonded to this sheet, so I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I will try a test. I'll bond one on here and I'll see just how hard it is for me to try to pull off. Hopefully it's not too much of an issue. Worst case, I'll come in here and sand it down wherever I'm going to place these, stick them down, and then reprime after. So anyhow, got them all marked out. I'll start working on getting those put in place. I've also got these side panels pulled off, and I've deburred the holes on both parts, and I still need to take those off and get those deburred. But little by little, one step at a time, I'm going to work on this right now. Here's the figure, and here's the schedule for what I need to cut these at. This is the stock here. These were all wrapped up in one of the paper wrappings with the kit. So I'll go through here, go through the schedule, mark each of these, cut them, and deburr the ends and prepare them. Here's something funny. This is my ruler that I'm using to measure these out, and I have had this. I engraved it when I bought it, I guess. I don't really remember doing this, but I put my name on it. October 1998. I've had this for that long. What is that, 25 years? Is that right? Yeah. Crazy. I was doing a lot of RC models back then, and I probably bought it for that, but hey, still putting it to good use. And Johnson Level and Tool, that's made in America right there. Made in the USA. So there we go. I just thought that was kind of neat. Got these all marked out. Take them over to my bandsaw now and get them cut. All right, I've got my VHB tape applied to this stiffener here. This is letter A, this goes up front. Turns out that the line I want you to put it on falls between a couple rivets here. You can't see one, it's just off frame, but there's one in the skin right there, and there's one in the center right here. So I just kind of laid my ruler out there as a guide, and I'm going to peel off the backing and kind of eyeball this centered between where the tubes go. Like so. Press it down real good. I'm curious to see how well it adheres to my primed surface. I did wipe it down with some brake cleaner and got it free of grease or oils. I did the same thing with the stiffener piece. Get it a good bond here. Yeah, I think it's just as strong as if it was aluminum on aluminum. That is bonded. That's incredible. Yeah, I feel comfortable with continuing on. I noticed I had forgot to drill the holes for my landing gear when I had the skin on before. I noticed it when I was putting the strips on, the support strips. So I got the skin back on, and I came up through the bottom. I pilot drilled it the best I could with a 1/4 inch centered. And I'm gonna open it up now to the correct size with a step drill. That's pretty good. Centered right up. What's nice about a step drill is if you pilot it and you're going into a hole, like I'm going into this tube, it kind of acts like an end mill because it's got 2 flutes, and it'll kind of ride up against the steel there and just work its way and center it down. Because I know I wasn't perfectly centered, but the holes now are dead on, so step drills for the win. I'm gonna match drill the side skin, the aft part of it here. I've got it clecoed through the inside, through the support strip, through the tabs, and now I'm gonna catch all these holes remaining. Also, what I've been doing when I'm match drilling through existing number 30 holes, I just started doing this. I wish I would have done it earlier. I'm using a 3mm drill bit, which is undersized by about, I think, 20 thousandths or so. And what's nice about that is I'm not walking around and opening up the part that I'm match drilling through. Then what I'll do later is I'll ream them to 30 when it comes time for either assembly, or I might ream them and then, I'll probably ream them and then deburr them, but I'll do that separately. This way I'm not opening up and you know, creating a bigger hole on the skin that I'm going through. It seems to work pretty good. The aft side skins also get some of these supports as well, using the VHB tape. You can take this opportunity while the belly skin is off to put these nut plates on at these locations here, right there. There's one here, got a couple here, and I think that's it. There's, I believe, 10 of them. Now's a good time to get that done. I'm gonna slightly break the edges on some of these panels here. This one, I already did these here. You can see there's a slight bend there on the aft edge, just where it meets, you know, where it goes over the aft side skin. So what I want to do now is take, you can see I did it on this one as well. Take this skin, put a little bit of a bend in it, and then I also want to put a bend on the aft edge of the bottom skin, and probably the sides as well. I noticed that when I clecoed these on, it tended to lift up a little bit, especially where it kind of takes a curve down towards the front. So I think that slightly breaking that edge will help keep a tight seam where the panels line up or where they join. So I'll do that now on this one, and then I'll get to this one. Test fit the bottom skin after I put the bend in it. I put a pretty sharp bend in this one, only because the edge distance between the rivets and the end of the panel is a little bit larger than what it would normally be. It's an inch on some rivet spacings and maybe 3/4 inch on the ones that are a little more forward. That's quite a bit of distance for the panel. So I put a pretty sharp one in there, sharper than I would normally do, but it actually looks really good. And you can see it holds tight all the way down. It just creates a very nice finished look. So I'm glad I was gonna do that anyway, but then I was thinking, man, I really need to put an extra bend on that just because it's such a wide distance. So, and I may consider going, maybe not quite as aggressive as I did on the aft edge, but I might get a little more aggressive than normal on the sides for the same reason. There's quite a bit of distance here, and I wanna make sure that this bottom skin fits tightly to these side skins. So I think what I'll do though on that is I'll kind of go into it a little at a time. I'll do an edge, I'll come over here and I'll test fit, I'll put the side skins on, I'll test fit it, cleco it, kind of see how it looks. If I need a little more, I'll do that. You can always add a little more in. You can't really take it out once you've put it in. I need to dimple the bottom skin at these hole locations here for the landing gear. I also need to dimple this skin underneath, and then a flush rivet's gonna go in here. Manual only calls for these two here. I think I'm gonna do this one because when I drilled these, my spacing was such that this ended up quite close to this, and I don't know if the landing gear, if it's gonna just maybe interfere with that rivet. So I'll go ahead and dimple and countersink rivet that one as well, or flush rivet that one. I am doing a tail dragger. However, I am also wanting to leave the airplane available for, in the future, a trike. That's why I bought the trike engine mount, just for resale value later, or maybe I get a crazy idea, I want to run trike for a while, whatever. That being the case, now is the time to run these countersunk also. So I need to dimple these skins below it, both sides, and prepare it for in case I want to run a trike, and then certainly for tail dragger for now, those are going to have to be done. I believe the time has come to rivet the floor skin on, the bottom skin, and these side skins. I've been going round and round trying to make sure there isn't anything I'm forgetting. Don't think there is. Man, it's tough because once you get something riveted and you realize, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that, it's a lot harder to fix later. But I think it's ready. So I'm just gonna suck it up and do it, and I don't think I'll have any problems. So I'm gonna start out by hitting the CCPQ 42s on the back skin here, bottom skin here at the back where the tabs are, which is where I have clecos right now, these clecos here. I'll hit those, I'll look at the schedule and see what the others are. And I'm gonna start at the back and I'm gonna rivet my way forward and do the same thing on the side skins. I'm gonna start back here and move my way forward. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. Got the bottom skin and the side skins installed. Everything turned out great. Next, I'll be flipping the fuselage over and starting to work on the aft baggage area. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.